Welcome to the Law Firm Marketing Minute, your source of internet marketing inspiration.
And this week, talking about social media. It's been a while since we've covered that here on the show. The reason that I'm bringing it up is because we are going to have a new resource coming out here in the next couple of weeks, actually helping you build out a social media calendar. One of the biggest problems that I see, and a lot of times what often happens with firms, especially with their social media strategy, is just they fail to be consistent. And people will check your social media out. Look, and for most industries, social media is going to be a good lead generation tool for law firms, financial advisors, accountants, stuff like that, where you're typically sharing sensitive information. People aren't generally going to engage with that. People aren't going to like a post from a divorce lawyer talking about how to get divorced. People aren't going to comment on a post from a bankruptcy lawyer, being like, wow, this is such great information, I'm going to file for bankruptcy. Like, people just aren't going to readily admit that. And that's okay. There are other metrics within social media marketing that you can focus on. But the other aspect of that is, if you're going to have a successful social media strategy, you need to be consistent. I've seen a ton of firms who will get super into social media for like a week or two. They'll post every day, and then there just won't be anything for like 6 months at a time. And you can't do that. It looks bad. People, when they're doing their due diligence, when they're researching your firm, they're going to look at your social media feeds. They're going to see what kind of information you're posting. If they see that you've got a Facebook page, but then you haven't updated it in 8 months, people might think, or at least question whether or not you're still in business. And that seems a little ridiculous on the surface, but it's a legitimate thought that people have. And so it's all about being consistent. And the nice thing about it is, if you're blogging on your website already, if you have free information that you're giving away already, if you are just passionate about your industry and your field, and you're continuously learning about your industry, you already have plenty of content that you can post on social media. So when we talk about a social media strategy, there's typically about 5 different kinds of posts that you can create. One is like motivational quotes. Like, people on social media love quotes, all right? Inspirational stuff. And you can post quotes, and people, like, if you want engagement, that's a good way to get it. People will like quotes, they'll comment on quotes and stuff like that. And if you want to take it a step further, you can use a website like Canva to create graphics with the quotes. And then you can build up an Instagram presence that way, along with, taking some behind the scenes shots. Maybe you're going into court, maybe you're attending a trade show, doing something with your team, whatever the case is. Take those pictures, share that stuff. That's a good Instagram stuff, but it also works well for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn as well. Another kind of post is your standard call to action. Here's the thing, though. I've seen this happen with a lot of firms where that's like the only thing they'll post. Every single post is a call to action. Call this number and get, the justice team on your side. And don't do that. Do not do that. Calls to action, especially on social media, should be used very sparingly. All right. Because here's the thing. If you are just constantly asking for business, asking people to call you, asking people to do this and this and this, it's going to get old pretty quick. People are going to get turned off very quickly by that, and they're going to shut you out, and then people just aren't going to pay attention altogether, and then you're just going to be spinning your wheels, wasting your time. The idea behind social media is for you to participate in this bigger community of people in your area, right? And you specifically in your firm, you are a source of information. All right. You are not, you should not enter into the social media world expecting people to hire you. Right. There are a lot of different things at play. There are a lot of different things that need to happen for someone to make a hiring decision. Social media is just not where that decision is going to be made. Right. It could be made in the opposite direction that you want. People can tune you out, especially if every single post that you make is call this number and, put a store for you. Don't do that. All right. Maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. That's fine, but not every day, not multiple times per week. All right. So What do you post instead other than quotes? All right. You can't just post quotes and your phone number. That would get weird. Right. But I mentioned earlier about, if you are passionate about your industry, if you're constantly learning, you're going to find these third-party articles that you can then share with your audience. And the only rule we have for that is just make sure that they're relevant to your practice and your audience. So for example, if there's a new law coming out about, car insurance or whatever, and you're a personal injury lawyer and it has something to do with accidents, share that with your audience, right? Because that can affect how you manage cases in car accidents. It could manage, how you sue insurance companies, whatever the case is. It could affect how your audience handles their insurance policies. All right. So that's like a good example, and, for me personally, I have like a list of like close to 25 sites that I check on a weekly basis that have to do with marketing, that have to do with the legal field, finance field, whatever it is. And I will look for articles. And sometimes I will share them throughout the week on social media because they're not only relevant to what we do, but it can be helpful for other people in our audience to see these things. So that's a good way to break it up. But you are also absolutely welcome to direct people back to your website, right? There's a difference between constant self-promotion and being a good resource, a good source of information, right? So rather than posting a bunch of calls to action, provide free information, all right? If you're doing blogging, if you have video as part of your marketing strategy, social media is where you post that stuff. You write up a blog, share it on social media, and then schedule a post to share that blog a couple more times over the next couple of weeks. If you're doing video, share your videos, and that's why, and this is why we talk about evergreen content, because the more evergreen content you create, the bigger content library that you then have to share on social media. All right. So, if your blog is just like current event stuff, maybe you're an estate planning lawyer and you're talking about, Betty White or Bob Saget's estate, that's going to have a pretty short shelf life, right? 3-4 months at best, probably, unless there's something that I don't know about that's going to drag out. That's just an example. But instead, all right, let's say that, Bob Saget didn't have a will and now his estate is going through probate. Having blogs talking about the probate process, which likely is not going to have sweeping changes, that's evergreen content, because then people can go back to that stuff months, a couple of years down the road, and it's still just as relevant and still just as valuable. That's good social media content. That's why we create and our whole strategy is around creating this ecosystem that you can then just constantly pull from, and it grows and grows and grows over time. Same thing with video, just answer questions that you commonly get, as if someone just came up to you on the street and asked. The other kind of post is a lead magnet, right? So now I mentioned before, social media is not going to be a huge lead generator for you. A lot of marketing companies out there specifically targeting lawyers and finance people that say they can get you a bunch of leads from social media. I would be very wary of that. I have not seen a ton of success for that. You can still do it, but it should be something that you try later down the road when you've got a good rhythm in place with your other marketing. But if you're offering a lead magnet on your website, and that could be like a free download, a free white paper, ebook, resource, whatever it is. If you have an email newsletter, share a link to sign up to your email community. It may not grab many leads, but you could probably get a couple over time, and that's leads that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So it never hurts to throw that out. It still shows that you are a source of information, that you're out there trying to help people, and phrased and worded the right way. It's not going to come off as constant self-promotion. It's going to come off as, hey, here's some information. Maybe this is helpful for you. That's all you got to do. So those are your 5 post types. You've got quotes, you've got calls to action, you've got third-party articles, you got your blogs or videos, and you've got your lead magnets. And if you just kind of mix that in, balance those things out, You can do a quote every week, typically like a Friday or something. Share your blogs or videos multiple times, once or twice a week. Call to action maybe once every 2 weeks, a third-party article maybe once a week, and your lead magnet every week. And that's a good content balance. And that's an easy thing to do to schedule out or have your team schedule out for you. That's what we do for our clients. We create that content, we schedule it out for them, we post it for them. It's really simple. And look, if you would like us to do that for you, give us a call. And we can talk about, some of our social media packages. But the resource that we're going to come out with here in a couple of weeks is going to explain all of this information that I've just shared with you. It's going to give you basically a template to follow. It's going to give you some examples of what it might look like. And I think it'll just be really helpful for people to kind of visualize it. Because like I said, a lot of people just end up feeling like social media is just a daunting process. And again, it doesn't have to be, especially when you build a simple system for it. So hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about your social media strategy, I'm always happy to help. You can send me an email at john@spotlightbranding.com. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. Please visit lawfirmmarketingminute.com for more information. We'll see you next time.